What's up, good people? We are back for another Q&A with BA. Listen, I hope y'all don't dock my pay. I am 1 minute late today, and but we about to get to it. Today, we're gonna talk about 5 ways to 10K. 5 ways to 10K. And I'm so grateful for you guys who gave us some feedback. We put out a poll last week and we gave you about 4 different topics and ideas of what you would like for me to cover this week. And y'all spoke, we heard, right? So here we are. We're gonna talk about 5 ways to get to 10K months, whether you are an existing business owner, whether you are a 9 to 5 or looking to get your business going. I think that when you look at this metric, right, of 10K a month, regardless of where you at, an extra 10K a month won't do you no harm. It'll only do you some good. So I think it's a good focal point for us to talk through today. And as always, right, this is Q&A with BA. So leave your questions in the chat as I'm talking through. I'll stop to answer those questions. Okay. And as you're coming in the room, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we're gonna get right into it. Okay. So first of all, I had to think about this. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This made me think long and hard because I didn't want to just Google something, right? I didn't just want to go on the internet and pull off the top five, right? Like I see a lot of that, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be from the heart and from my own practical experience. And so one of the first things that stood out to me that was kind of crazy was, and I say this with all humility, just so y'all know I'm not tripping. I had to really think about how to make 10K, right? Because I've been just making a lot more than that for a very long time now. So I had to really dial it back and think about, okay, how do you go from 0 to 10K, right? How do you go from 0 to 10K? And so it jogged my memory back to this place of, now this wasn't the first time I started making 10K a month, okay? But I think that it's the best time for me to talk to you about. And it's because before, the other ways in which I did it caused some type of investment. So, for those of y'all that's been following along, I've been investing in real estate for almost 2 decades, right? 18, 19 years, something like that. But I've also, for the last 7 years, helped people all around the globe invest in real estate remotely, raise capital, build six-figure, multiple six-figure, even seven-figure in some cases, businesses, right? And so I was thinking back to a time where I was at work and I started making an extra $10,000 a month. Okay. And what I realized was the easiest way to make an extra $10,000 a month is number one, which is provide a service. Provide a service. Okay. So about 10 years ago, I joined this real estate mastermind. Okay. First mentor I ever had, actually. So I started investing for like 7, 8 years before I got a mentor. When I got this mentor, everything changed when I joined this mastermind. And so I was one of those people in the mastermind who I just hit the ground running. Like, it was a big investment, one that I had never made myself before. The initial investment was like $40,000, and it was like another uh 27,000 to be a part of the elite group or whatever. I ain't know no better. I'd never been to a seminar, all this stuff. I was just like, these are the people I've been needing. I done found them. I'm gonna do everything I gotta do, leverage my credit, my wife's credit, maxed out our credit cards, the cash we had, pushed it to the center of the table, all the things. But I was in a unique situation where I used a lot of my investing capital to invest in me, which I had never done. But then they taught us how to go raise capital to do our deals. And so guess what? I was a great student because I had already used my capital to invest in me. And if I wanted to buy some real estate, I better do what they showed me. And so true to form, I did that. I went out and bought 15, 20 deals my first year, right? And that continued for a little while. But I say that to say this: there were people in that same program who had spent close to six figures, right? Because once you did the initial investment, then there was like, you know, classes that they would have as one-offs. It'd be 5 grand here, 7 grand there. So some of these people had been to all of these different programs, and it was like $100,000 they had spent on themselves or invested in themselves at the very same time. They still had no result, right? They had no results. Um, they hadn't made any money. They hadn't gotten any deals. And so obviously, as one could imagine, it was a little bit frustrated. I'd invested six figures in myself. And I'm not saying that this is a reflection on the program, because obviously I had a different experience than they did. But I also approach life differently than most, right? And again, I say that in all humility, but I've been around the block enough to know the way I move, everybody don't move that way. So I'm in this unique position though, right? Because I'm going out, and contrary to the most difficult problem that people were having, which was finding deals, I was doing that in my sleep. Like, deals were chasing me, right? So I'm like, okay. So people started to reach out like, hey, would you mind helping me get a deal? Now, at this time, I'm not even privy to what wholesaling is, right? But essentially, that's what I started doing. I would have excess deal flow, so I would source the deals, and then I would basically wholesale them the deal. I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time, but I would like give them the deal and make 5 or 10K off the top. And then after that, they would then ask me to help them like run the project, right? So if the deal was in my market and I had the resources, contractors, all the rest of it, then I would help them go out and actually manage the project. Well, in doing that, I made an extra 5 to 10K per deal. So just think about that. I'm making 5 to 10K off the top when I source the property for them. But then after that, I'm making another 5 to 10K for providing a service. None of this costed me any money, by the way. The only money that this cost me was I made the initial investment in myself to learn the skills. But after going out and doing the work, then I was able to then turn around and help people that were in a dire position, that had spent all this money and got no return on their investment. And I was the only hope at that time that allowed them to get a return on their investment. And so I want y'all to understand that providing a service for someone can get you to multiple 5 figures a month, depending on what that service is and how many people you can help. Does that make sense? Like, but here's the key. You got to be good at something though, right? The moral of my story is that you got to be good at something. And so for those of you that's out there and you are good at something, you can be providing services for people. So in my particular case, it was project management, right? So I was going to work full time in corporate America, project managing and helping people on the side with real estate transactions, making an extra, call it a couple $100,000 a year, okay, on the side. Some of you are really good at, analyzing data, right? That's your wiring. Like, you're really good at analyzing data. Some of y'all are really good around the house. You got your honey-do list, you kill it. Your wife's super happy. She's like, I married Hercules, you know what I mean? Every task she give you, figure it out. Well, instead of just doing it for your honey, you should go do it for some extra money. You can start to market yourself and help people that need, and I'm not reducing it to this, but like televisions hung, or specific things built, or cabinetry redone, and then like all these different honey-do list tasks, right? On a little bit of a larger scale, you can go out and start helping people provide these services with things that you're naturally gifted at, that you normally do on the weekend for your honey, that you can go and do for some money, which, by the way, is just going to make your honey even happier. Okay, let me be very clear about that. So that's another way that you can go out and use a skill that you're already good at, that you do for free at home, that you can start getting paid to do. Okay, back to my people real quick about those of you that are analytical. Like, you're really good with numbers, you're really good at analyzing data, you're really good at catching patterns and trends and all those types of things. You could be out there like running Facebook ads for people. There's business owners, there's Shopify owners, there's personal brands, there's all kind of people that don't, which, by the way, I'm one of them. Like, I don't even know the login of my ads manager, right? I know that sounds crazy, but because I'm not analytical, that's not my part. My part is getting in front of the camera, doing my part, and somebody else on the background does the other part, right? Well, there's a lot of me's out there that need yous, that can come in and analyze data and see trends and present them to us and tell us what we should do and result of it and all the rest of it, and get paid good money. Like, we've paid as much as $5,000-$7,000 a month for marketing services, right? Which was inclusive of running Facebook ads and looking at other trends for us and things of that nature. I mean, so I'll say this before I say that. So if you look at just running Facebook ads, right, the industry average right now is about $2,000 to $3,000 if you can get in there and actually just manage somebody's Facebook account, right? Turn the ads on, looking at the data, telling them where you should spend money, what you should do, all the rest of it. Okay. Now think about that. You go get 3, 4, 5 clients at 2, 3 grand a pop. That's $10,000 a month. And you're using your brain and you're doing things that you're naturally good at, which is analyzing data, trends, all the rest of it. Now, should you maybe go take a little Facebook ad course? Probably, but the real reality is it's not the Facebook ad course that's going to make you so successful. It's the fact that you're already naturally gifted at analyzing data, trends, patterns, and so all you're doing is learning a little bit on top of a natural skill set and gifting that you got. Right. Same is true with like email marketing. So I know everybody get them, right? Like the jig is up now. Everybody knows that everybody gets email marketing. Okay. People are telling you stories. They are selling you things. They're telling you stories and selling you things, right? And it's not just big box stores no more, right? It's everybody. It's personal brands. Everybody has a presence online, send out newsletters, right? All of those things are email marketing. And as we talked last week on the live, about I think it's called the 16 word sales letter, right? That's a whole book about writing sales copy. So for some of you, you are phenomenal writers, right? Some of you are phenomenal communicators. And so if you can go out and provide something like email marketing or writing some type of copy for people in general, sales copy in general, like we've paid as much as one particular email marketing company we're working with was like $3,500 or $3,700 a month. And I know that probably sounds crazy to you, but there's a lot of money to be made from sending emails and communicating with the people that have subscribed to be on your list. Okay. But again, think about that. If we were paying a company $3,500 to $3,700 a month for email marketing, it don't take a lot of those, does it? If you and by the way, if you learn the skill and the nuance of email marketing, all of a sudden, let's say you got 4 or 5 clients, well, the basis of what you're going to be doing doesn't change. The nuance of what product, service, or offer that they have may change. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if that makes sense, what I just said. So it's not like you're having to come up with all of these, new Aristotle quotes every single time that you sit down and put copy together. You got a framework now. And then that framework, you're just inserting in the things that may be nuanced different depending on the brand and again, the product and the service. So these, right? So project management, honey-do list, right? You handy, go out, market yourself, get some money on the weekends, Facebook ads, email marketing. Here's another one. Okay. Some of y'all are already in sales. You can be a setter for somebody, right? Which is essentially the middleman between the client and the closer. Okay. So you go out and actually, maybe you do DM reach outs, which is essentially like, going, y'all know what DMs are, right? So going in the DM and starting conversation with people that seemingly could be the ideal client for your client, for instance, right? You would do this as a service for someone. And then you would get these people to a point of wanting to hop on a call with a closer, okay? And you could get paid commission from that. There are a lot of setters right now who are essentially virtual assistants, and they're making thousands of dollars a month by utilizing, this is the beautiful part about it. Whoever the client is, they're already bringing in traffic, right? This is where you benefit from this. They're already spending the money on the marketing and bringing in traffic to their page. You're just going out communicating with the folks that's coming to the page, getting them interested and having a conversation. And then when somebody gets on the phone and closes that person, you get a percentage of whatever that sale is. Some of these packages could be 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000, right? LC4 says, do you go for big clients or small clients in the beginning? That's a really good question, actually. I don't I don't know if it matters whether you go for a big client or a small client. Okay. I think so. So here's the interesting part about that. The small client, what's up, Mark? The small client, although you would think that starting with a small client could be advantageous, it possibly also couldn't be because one, maybe they don't have good systems and processes in place internally within their business, right? So if you're going to be doing, hey Lydia, if you're going to be doing setting, right? If you're going to be a setter for somebody in the sales environment, you want to make sure that there's a good CRM, right? So that you can manage the clients on the back end or CMS, which would be like a Go High Level or Active Campaign. Like you want some type of system to where you can follow up with the leads, have visibility to them, the different movements that they're making within the system, all the rest of it. Whereas a smaller client, Lydia, may not have those things in place, which then makes your job a lot harder, right? So the idea normally would be like, well, if I haven't been doing this a lot, I may want to start with somebody small, but starting with somebody small may actually put you at a disadvantage if you actually have the skills to communicate, to naturally generate conversation with people. You may be better off immersing yourself in an environment with a more proven brand because they'll have systems, they'll have training, they'll have scripts, they'll have a lot more infrastructure in place that can help you succeed. And by the way, they're probably going to have more lead flow, right? They're going to be a bigger brand. They're going to have more leads coming in, more marketing in place, which can only help you make more money as you help them make more money. So on the other side of that, being with a smaller brand in a more intimate setting, provided that they do have some infrastructure in place, you could obviously make more money potentially, right? Maybe the profit margins are a little bit higher for you. You know, maybe there's more of an opportunity to grow and do other things for that entrepreneur business owner. So it's multifaceted, right? But I wouldn't shy away from the bigger client only because I feel like I'm small, right? I think that there's a lot of benefit to working with an established brand that would already have some things in place to help set you up for success. Okay. By the way, this is 5 ways to 10K a month, and we only on number one. Okay. So we about to keep moving. Okay. So being a setter, being a closer, and also this one, which I love a lot. I just interviewed a guy on my podcast yesterday. Shout out to Joe McCarthy. Joe is 22, right? Done millions of dollars online. Started out selling chickens on a farm, right? Crazy story. Y'all got to see the pie when it dropped. But he's been doing brand consulting essentially, right? And multifaceted. There's different layers to it between, social media presence, DM reach out, inbound reach out, all this stuff that I'm talking to y'all about. But essentially, it's been helping brands grow online. And he at 22 has carved out a business for himself that has given him freedom at 22 years old while helping over 7,500 people, from the last 4 years as he's been doing it officially. So when you look at that, it's like, well, what is branding consulting, right? It's helping people get clear on what it is that they think they want to do in the market. So for instance, I've got a coaching client who has a clothing boutique, right? And so we had a call earlier this week, and she's got over 600 pieces in her boutique, but she knows she wants to like pare it down some because it's too much. It's something for everybody. And in business, we have to understand that if we're talking to everybody, we're talking to nobody. We got to be very specific about what we're doing, right? This is Thursdays live Q&A with BA, right? It's business coaching. We're very specific about what we're doing as business coaching. Don't come here if you want to chase squirrels, because we talking about business. We talk about how to help y'all make more money. So I was telling her, I said, well, you got to get clear about who is your avatar. I said, so you got 600 pieces on your website, on your Shopify store. Who are they for? And she was like, they're for Grace. I'm like, awesome. So how old is Grace? Who does Grace hang with? What are her hobbies? What does Grace like to do? How much money does Grace make? Right? The more specific we are about who we're talking to, then the better we are at forming our brand. So now she's got this whole new avatar of Grace. She's talked about how she's going to take various color schemes, which is something that she's done a lot of research in terms of how certain colors make people feel differently if they wear them. And she's going to now build out and kind of revamp her brand online to kind of be the color specialist, but in style, but for Grace. Did y'all catch that? So she's going to take something that she knows very well because she's done the research on it. She's going to combine that with the thing that she loves to do, which is be a stylist. And she's doing that specifically for an avatar called Grace. So that's branding consulting. And so if you have the skill to be a great active listener and ask great questions, because a great question is the best answer, then you could go out and provide a service for people and help them. Like that's one of my coaching and consulting clients who pays for me to help coach and consult her, right? So that's number one, provide a service. Number two, yes, Lydia, attracting your ideal customer, 100%. All right, number two, by the way, I got 5 of these, and the order in which I'm giving them to you in is least path of resistance in terms of financial investment, right? Because I want to give y'all 5 ways to get to 10K monthly outside of work, outside of your business that you're currently doing. But I want to show you the least capital intensive ways along the way. Okay. So number one was provide a service. So that's just taking your skill that you're already good at and helping somebody while you make more money. Number two is this: wholesaling real estate. Wholesaling real estate. Okay. I'm not going to teach y'all how to wholesale right here. Okay. This is not that video. However, I will tell you this. Wholesaling real estate is simply this. You have a person in the transaction. Okay. The person is called A. Okay. A is the seller. Then you have B, who is the wholesaler, and you have C, who is the end buyer. So wholesaling is going from A to B, seller to wholesaler, and B to C, wholesaler to buyer. Okay, that's all it is. The wholesaler's in the middle, they're the middleman. So seller over here wants to sell their home for $100,000. Wholesaler gets it under contract for $100,000. Then wholesaler finds a buyer that wants to buy it for $110,000. Wholesaler assigns their contract to the buyer. Buyer buys it from seller for 110. Seller gets their 100. Wholesaler gets their 10. It is that simple. Okay. Contrary to what y'all may see online, it's A to B, B to C. That's wholesaling. Is there nuance to it? Certainly. Is there some paperwork that has to happen? Certainly. But it's a least path of resistance for you to get started. Now, does it require some money? Yes. Okay. But very little. And the most money that it requires is you actually learning this stuff. Okay. Take the time out and actually go learn it, be proficient at it so that you don't be a part of the ones that get a bad rap for being out there irresponsible, not knowing what they're doing, taking advantage of people, messing up transaction and ruin their relationships, all the rest of it. Okay. This is just fundamental. Like go out and learn it. The other part that you need cash for is when you get a property under contract, right? So the seller and the wholesaler agree to terms. Okay. I'm buying your house for $100,000. I'm gonna write the contract. We're gonna both execute it. It's called a fully executed contract. When that happens, then I have to put what's down an earnest money deposit. Okay, which is simply cash consideration to show the seller that I'm committed in the transaction. That could vary anywhere from $50 to $500 to $1,000 to $10,000 to $100,000, depending on how large the transaction is. Okay. But there are some baselines to that. Typically, you're talking 1% of the sales price. So on a $100,000 house, $1,000 will be adequate, right? But all that being said, wholesaling could be a phenomenal place for you to go without having to expend a lot of cash or have a lot of cash in middleman transactions. Okay. 1 year, 2018, I made over $350,000 just wholesaling. I was doing other forms of real estate, but I was just wholesaling and made over $350,000. Okay. And not only that, I was wholesaling off the multiple listing servers. Okay. That's a whole nother thing. Like you can wholesale from the MLS. You don't only have to wholesale off market. If you don't understand what none of that means, that just means you need to go learn how to wholesale. Okay. But I'm telling you, in lieu of you doing that, It's a lot of money for you to be made, for you to make without having to put up a lot of capital to make it. Okay. So that's number two, right? Number one was provide a service. Number two was wholesale real estate. Number three is this, and this one is going to be powerful for you guys out there. Okay. Partnerships. Partnerships. So if you can take what you do existing, right? So all nighter hider of Ryan. That's so funny too. I was calling Ryan Frank, and so Ryan told me last week and got it cleared up. But Ryan he's got a construction company, from what I understand, right? So let's just say we know that as real estate investors, contractors are your Achilles heel. I don't care how good the deal is on paper. If you go out there and your contractors can't execute, you're going to lose every single time, right? Well, Ryan, knowing that, and he's got a successful construction company, he would be part of a very small percentage of good contractors out there. Well, why is that important? It's important because number three, when I say 5 ways to make an extra 10K a month, is to form partnerships. So what Ryan could do, okay, is partner with realtors. He could partner with investors who have seminars and such where they teach people how to invest in real estate, right? Or they already have programs where they help people invest in real estate. All Ryan has to do, because he's a licensed, successful contractor and has a successful construction company, is he could partner with these folks and bring his expertise to teach their students on all the do's and don'ts of dealing with a contractor, right? These are the things that you need to look out for when working with contractors, right? These are the red flags to know whether or not they have the capacity to really take your work and complete it successfully. These are the ways that I will put systems and parameters and accountability measures in place to hold them accountable. He's got like the best insight as anybody because he's one of them, right? So if he can take his expertise as a good contractor with a great reputation, he could then Liz said, "Hey, I enjoy your content. Thank you for all your valuable information. I appreciate you, Liz. Thanks for the shout out. And by the way, although I'm up here bumping my gums, this is a Q&A. So you guys can put your questions in the chat and I promise you I'm gonna get to them, but I just want to get through these 5 ways of how you can make an extra 10K a month. Okay. So we're on number 3, which is partnerships. So as I was mentioning, Ryan having a construction company has an advantage because he's a successful contractor and there aren't many that can say that, right? So Ryan could have joined himself, partner with realtors, real estate investors who have seminars and teams, and he can come in and share all of his wisdom, insight, and help train these people up so they could be more successful when going out there in the market. Well, guess what? Some of these programs, these people could be selling them for 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000. So if now all of a sudden Ryan takes his expertise, partners with somebody that already has the platform, the audience, and the people, then he could get paid a percentage to just come in and share. Which, by the way, guess what? Guess what happened in lieu of that? Not only is he helping safeguard these people to go out there and invest more effectively, but he's going to get some more business for his actual business. Like, let's just be real. If people have identified with him as somebody of authority that they can know, like, and trust, and believe that he can help them get from A to Z successfully, then guess what they're going to want to do? Buy deals in his market so that they can do. By the way, Ryan, I don't know if you're on here live today or not, but when you see this in replay, I just want a small percentage. Okay. I just gave you a play to go help you make a few extra $100,000 this year and doing something that I know you would like to do, which is just help people. That's all you're doing is helping people, but you're giving them a first-hand experience from how you run your business. You had to run guys off the job, right? You know what it looks like when you even maybe collaborate with other subcontractors and GCs on different jobs and such. And so I use construction as an example just because it was the first one that came to my mind. But the bottom line is some of you are great at financial literacy. Some of y'all have used Dave Ramsey's skills or tools and framework and dug yourself out a tremendous amount of debt. Others of you are phenomenal at consulting work or something. So you could then partner with people, leverage their platform and their audience, insert your expertise, and then make more money. I promise y'all, it's not that hard to go out and make an extra $10,000 a month without expending yourself or spreading yourself too thin. Okay. Liz says, what do you think about flipping for active income and setting money aside from the profits to acquire rentals through DSCR and own a small construction? Also own a small construction and business with my husband. I'm a realtor. Got it. Great question, Liz. So it's funny because Liz actually leads me into number 4. Okay, number 4. So number 1 was provide a service. Number 2 was wholesale real estate. Number 3 was create partnerships. And number 4 was build a business. Okay. And in building a business, I'm talking about real estate. I'm talking about trading, right? I'm talking about e-commerce. I'm talking about building a business. What Liz just mentioned is exactly what I wanted to talk to y'all about on this particular topic. So it's a lot of ways to build a real estate business. Many people, see, this is the first thing that I want everybody to understand. You got to get rich before you get wealthy. Now, I know society, because we try to shortcut everything, will tell you that you can go and get wealthy without being rich. Now, it depends on what you classify as rich. When I say rich, it's not necessarily a dollar amount. It's a position that you're in. So you can go to work, make $80,000 a year, keep your expenditure at 30, and you got an extra 30, 40, $50,000 a year. I would call you rich, right? The person that make $500,000 a year and spend $507,000 is not rich. Okay. You don't have any margin. There's no excess there. Okay. So the first thing you got to understand about the real estate game is getting rich before you get wealthy, which is why I love Liz's question. Now, most people, because they try to get wealthy before getting rich, will go out there and say, I'm going to get as much house for as little down, and then I'm going to start building wealth. Now, that sounds great. Okay. And on paper, maybe you got equity and all the rest of it. However, you got into it for 3.5% down because that's all the money you had. And then you thought for whatever reason that this thing called tenant was going to pay you every month. And then you also thought that you were never going to have no problems with the property. Okay. So this is why trying to do wealthy activities without being rich first is a problem. If you don't have the capital reserves to sustain all of the issues that's going to happen, not that might happen, that's going to happen. If you don't have the cash reserves to sustain all that, then you're going to be in a bad shape trying to get wealthy without getting rich first. Okay. That's why I love Liz's question. So her question is, what do you think about flipping for active income and setting money aside from profits to acquire rentals? I think that is the most responsible, fundamental way to buy rental properties. Whether you choose to buy them cash or whether you choose to use the excess fund from the active income as down payments while still having some reserves. So should the furnace go out, should this happen, should the tenant not pay their mortgage not pay their rent, which in turn not pay your mortgage for 6 months, that you're not stuck, right? Because then you're going to work to not only take care of your household, but not take care of another liability. An asset, the definition of an asset per Robert Kiyosaki is something that pays you cash flow. The definition of liability is something that has negative cash flow. So whether you buy this house and it's paying you every month, it's an asset. If it's not paying you every month, it's a liability. Period. There's no two ways around that. Now, some would say, well, but on paper, I got equity. Cool. Until dumb down the street decide to sell their house for $100,000 less than what you would sell yours. And now all of a sudden they reset the market and you don't have $100,000 in equity no more, right? We don't control equity. We control cash flow. So that's a great question, Liz. I think that's a phenomenal approach. I think that's smart to get active chunk money and then position yourself to where you could then go out and buy rentals, be comfortable, and have, the what if money, right? Because you need the what if money in that regard to insulate yourself. Also own a small construction business with my husband, and you're a realtor. Phenomenal. So y'all got your hands all in the real estate pot, right? And I will leverage that in multiple ways, right? In multiple ways. Y'all can start doing consulting for folks, you know what I mean? Once you get rolling, and as a matter of fact, Liz, I got probably 3 coaching clients right now that are agents that I've now shown them how they can teach other agents how to make money investing in real estate. Why? Because I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the housing market the last 24 months. It ain't been that great for realtors, right? Transactions have been down. Lots of agents who are full-time had to go get full-time jobs, right? So, but there is still opportunity as an investor if you are an agent. And so anyway, I digress, but that could be another avenue. The reason why I stopped you, how do I find business owners to reach out to? Is there a list? That's a great question. What's your name? The reason why I stopped you, if you don't mind. So social media, right? Like social media, and I was just talking to Joe McCarthy about this on the podcast yesterday. He's a brand specialist, right? He does a lot of cold outreach. It was funny because when I saw him as a profile to come on the podcast, I lost his profile, so I was searching in my email looking for it. His name popped up from 2021. He had prospected me, unbeknownst to me, like 4 years ago, which is great, right? Well, to some, you may see that as great. Others, maybe not so much. But the point is, the reason why I stopped you, how do you find business owners is you just got to collaborate with people online. You have to just cold reach out. Now, society has told us, especially depending on when you grew up, hey, Val, society has probably taught most of us, I'm an 80s baby, depending on when you grew up, you've probably been told the same, don't talk to strangers, right? Which is so funny because all the strangers got your money, right? But don't talk to strangers. So crazy. Only talk to the people you already know. It's insane, man. Like all the undoing and the rewiring that we got to do just to be successful in life is insane. But Val, honestly, it's first of all, filling your feed with things that actually make sense, right? Or people that actually make sense. And as you start to, see things pop up and you're exploring on your feed, and I don't know which platform that you're on majority of the time, Val, but even if you find people on YouTube, it's good to go and connect with them on Instagram because Instagram has the feature called DM where you can directly message people and talk to them, which is far more advantageous than. And I think YouTube will figure something out at some point. I just think it makes sense for them to. So even for those that you find that you enjoy to listen to on YouTube, I would then pivot and start connecting with these people on Instagram, send them direct messages, and let them know what your interests are. I think now more than ever, we expect it, right? Like I don't get offended when people reach out to me for a particular reason on Instagram. I'm grateful for it, right? Because that means that I'm being noticed. They see that either they could add some value to my life or seemingly that I could add some value to theirs. And so I'm grateful for the reach out. And so one of the things that we even do is, and for some of y'all that's on my page, y'all will notice when you reach out to us on Instagram and well, not reach out, but when you follow us, right? So any new follower that we get, we send a message, okay, that basically says, thank you for the follow. What drew you to my page? I have a genuine interest for that. Why? Because we spend thousands of dollars curating content every month. And if something about my content piqued your interest, I want to understand what that is because the content is about me before you. Right? So it's important to me to understand why people have followed so that we could continue to serve them at a higher level and what have you. So Val, did that help with some context? Like just being able to do some cold reach outs to people that, you identify as maybe could be good to be in community with? Leah said, fire. I'll be honest, I want to focus on investing myself and helping others versus transactions with normal buyers and sellers. Like you said, it's tough right now as a realtor for sure. For sure. Now you're on the right path, Liz. And the fact that y'all have, like I said, this multifaceted approach to the real estate market, it's just so many different spinoffs from the capacity that you currently have. That's you'd be able to print some money in other ways for sure. All right. As promised, I told y'all. Okay, cool. Glad to hear it, Val. So again, 5 ways to 10K a month. Okay. Number 1 was provide a service, project management, consulting, You know, if you do your honey-do list, go do your money-do list. Go do those same activities, get paid for them. Okay, then come back and take the honey out on a date. Email marketing, Facebook ads, right? You can make thousands of dollars with just 2, 3, 4 clients. Okay. Wholesaling real estate, number 2. Partnerships, number 3. Go find your tribe. Go find people that you can insert yourself with and help bring value to their communities and what they're doing. Okay. Number 4, build a business, right? So we just talked about building a real estate business. My opinion, if you don't have a lot of reserves, go build up reserves. Go do active income strategies like flipping and wholesaling. Take those monies, pivot into putting them into passive investments like rental properties, right? At some point, see, here's the thing. Poor people essentially believe that the purpose of money is to go to work and pay bills. Okay. And when I say poor, I'm talking about mentally. I'm not talking about necessarily financially, because you could make a $500,000 a year, spend 507, and you're poor, right? By definition of money. But I'm talking about mentality. So poor people think that the purpose of money is to go to work and pay bills. Middle class believe that the purpose of money is to go to work and pay bills, but then to also use credit in advance of having the money, right? So they're making future purchases. Then you have the other side of the middle class who believes that being debt free is financially free, which is not also true. It's 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 just not true, right? It's the catalyst to becoming financially free, because the lower your debt obligation is, the higher your income is. So then the less responsibility that you have every month pulling away from your income, then you're more financially stable, right? So it's the catalyst to becoming financially free, but you still got, even if you have everything paid off, you got taxes, you got insurance, you got to generate some income for that, right? The rich and the wealthy understand that the purpose of money is to take that money, invest it in other things, and allow that money to pay for your lifestyle. Because here's the thing, unless or until you do that, then you always got to work for money. So at some point, your money got to go to work for you. So you got to make enough money to put that money to work for you so that you can stop working for it. That's the cycle. And as soon as you get there, the better. The sooner you get there, the better. Okay. So yeah, real estate, trading, right? That's not my thing. I tried it. I've never lit money on fire as fast in my life than trading. But it's because I didn't do it the right way, right? I didn't go learn the thing first. I saw a lot of people doing it. I figured, how difficult can it be? Well, it showed me extremely. Okay. As a matter of fact, I lost money so quick. I still don't know how I lost the money. I just knew I didn't have any more in the account to use, right? Like when I was done doing clicking buttons, it was over. So that wasn't it for me. I figured that out. But I know a lot of people that make a lot of money trading stocks, right? I just had a lady, shout out to Julianne Crafton. I had her on my podcast recently. She's done over $40 million in e-commerce. Go watch that episode when it drops. It may have dropped on audio today. I think the video pod will be out Saturday morning. But anywho, she's made over $40 million in the e-commerce space. She talked a lot about how to go out, do that, and do it successfully. So those could be great places to go and make an extra 10K a month, okay, with minimal investment. Real estate, again, you know, so we specialized in 2 things when we had our real estate mastermind. One was teaching people how to invest remotely, right? I live in Orlando. I own over 100 apartments in Detroit as is, but I've done over 100 fix and flip and wholesale deals in Detroit and different parts of the country. We've had students as far as Denmark, Japan, Afghanistan, taught them how to invest in the States without ever having to come there. So that, and then we also showed them how to raise private capital, which is important because not everybody is flush with cash, but that shouldn't be a limitation on you getting started. You can go out and create partnerships. If you know how to raise capital, then, let's just say that there was a flip where you can make 50, 60 grand, right? And maybe you borrow 50 grand from somebody to cover the down payment and your holding costs, and you give them a 20% return. So at the end of the transaction, they get their money back plus 10, and then you put 40 in your pocket. Is anybody upset with making an extra 40,000 without having to put any money in the transaction? Of course not, right? But it takes skill, and you shouldn't be out there gambling with other people's money, which means that your best investment is always going to be in numero uno, because you're your number one asset. All other assets flow from it. It's a lot more people out there that have money that don't know how to find deals and or the desire to find deals because they're too busy making money in the thing they already make money in, but they would like to make more money if they had somebody credible that they could know, like, and trust to show up and teach them how they could put their money to work in their absence. That's where you come in. Okay. So real estate, trading, e-commerce, and lastly, y'all, and this is the most important of them all. Okay. It's the most important of them all. Lydia said, yeah, not a big fan of day trading money. It could go fast. I'm telling you. Liz said, what's a good way to find out how much of the return to give a private money lender? That's a really good question. Liz, you got some really good questions. So here's the thing. And you're going to always hear me say this. The best answer is a great question. So when you're dealing with investors, you have to understand that if they're going to deploy some capital, it's because they already have in their mind what they want to do. So the way to figure out what's a good return for them is to figure out what is a good return for them. Right? The worst thing we could ever do is make assumptions for people. So there's certain investors that I wouldn't even send certain deals to because I know it wouldn't fit their appetite. I only know that because I talked to them and got to know them. So, you have to ask them, so what kind of deals do you normally do? Right? And they'll tell you, oh, I'm over indexed in the stock market. I really don't do a lot. So, so you kind of used to the S&P just spitting out 10%. Yeah, got $1 million in there and just kind of let it do its thing. It's pretty stable, but I do want to diversify. Okay, so what's the goal in diversification? Well, I'm actually looking for more depreciation that I could capture, things of that. So then present them with opportunity to flip a property is probably not going to be up their alley because they just told you they're more interested in depreciation, which you're only going to capture that on buy and hold. Right? You see what I'm saying, Liz? And so they'll start to tell you the things that they're interested in. And that way you can know how you need to present the opportunity to them, or should you present it to them at all. Right? Sometimes you may have investors who, wherever their money is right now, it could be in a slow growth annuity or something, and maybe they making next to nothing on their money. Right? A lot of the time too, you got like middle ground investors. It's not always the people that got super long paper like you would think. It's just the person who's been very financially sound. They got an extra $80,000-$100,000 laying around, and it's just in the bank, literally losing the money. And so they typically don't invest their money. They just save it, but they want to invest it. And in those particular cases, you can ask them like, what will be a good return for you right now? It's in the bank, not making you anything. Kind of what's your thoughts on that? Let them talk, right? If they say something crazy, let them know that's kind of crazy too. But, I find that when you just ask them questions and then you could kind of arrive at what you should present to them at that point. For some, 12% is killing it. For others, it's like 12%. Let me go back to sleep, right? But so, but here's what I can tell you, Liz. 20% moves the needle in any market, okay? Everybody trying to make 20%. And if you flipping and you got good margins, you start where you stand, 20% could be phenomenal, right? For them, and still leave you a tremendous amount of profit as well. So don't be shy. A lot of the time we get caught up on pride and we get into, pissing contest about how much of our deal we willing to give up or not. You got to start where you stand. My first 20 deals, I could say this out of ignorance at that time, I gave up 50% on all of my deals because I looked at it like, well, if I could do 20 deals with no money out of pocket, I make $500,000, they make $500,000. Like, we just gonna keep doing this, right? And of course, the money gets cheaper over time. But I was really in a situation where nobody had ever given me money in life, so I was like, "This is crazy. These strangers really willing to give me 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever. Yeah, let's split it." You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I'm like, I'm gonna go do this real estate stuff anyway. So I didn't look at it like most. Now I could tell you for the last 7 years, my students on average normally pay somewhere between 15 and 20% on paper that they get for their deals, in most cases. Some a little bit cheaper, never more than 20%. I'd say 15 to 20% is a pretty good pocket. Okay. Said, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I'm in Indianapolis. Have you done any deals in Indy? I have not personally, but I've had students that done deals in Indy for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, guys, that leads me to number 5. Okay. And this is probably going to be the most difficult, but free, and will be the most profitable for everybody on this call listening to this. Number 5 is build a brand. Number 5 is build a brand. We have to come out from hiding. Wherever we are in our process, whatever we're proficient at, whatever we desire to do, we have to start talking about it in front of people. And I say that tongue in cheek. I mean, you're really talking about it in front of a camera that it's only you and the camera there, and it's not going to bite you or suck you into the camera. I promise you, I've done it a lot of times. But then you got to put that content out. You have to build a brand. You have to make people know who you are. Why? Because people aren't chasing transactions, they're chasing relationships. They want to do business with who they know, like, and trust. And what also happens is, instead of you having to see, one of the biggest problems in business is that we're running around looking for more people to sell our stuff to, instead of making ourselves more viable for the people that already want to buy the thing we sell. We're talking about investors right now. There's investors that's looking around on the internet right now, looking for somebody that seems credible enough that they can put their cash with. We're talking about finding business owners. There's business owners that have VAs on their team that are looking for talent every day. If we can let people know in our profile what we do. But I know, nobody want to hit the button and cut the camera on. I get it. But I'm giving you 5 ways to 10K. Provide a service, wholesale real estate, partnerships, build a business, and number 5, which is really the most important of them all, build a brand. And here's the best part about it, though. This is the best part about it. Contrary to what you may think in your mind, you have no competition, because nobody is better at being you than you. If you would just be you, if you would show up unapologetically, authentically you, nobody's better at beating you at that game, because God only made one of you. So if you stick to the factory setting, you can't lose. Now, if you try to be a carbon copy of somebody else, if you try to emulate somebody else, then yeah, you're gonna lose at that game because you're not them. But if you just be you, which is more than enough, then you will have more than enough. Because there's very specific people, based on how God wired you and gifted you, that you're called to serve and do business with. And they're just waiting on you to show up, but they don't know because you haven't put yourself out there to let them know. So that, my friends, is 5 ways to 10K. I do have a Zoom that starts in 6 minutes, but I am willing to hang around and take questions for the next 3 or 4 minutes if you guys have them. By the way, if this was helpful, please send this to somebody. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with a friend, a loved one, maybe even a hater. Who knows? We got to even save them too sometimes. But I just want to keep bringing more ways and resources to you guys to improve your quality of life in whatever way that you want to, right? And so I appreciate the feedback. We put a poll up. That's how we picked this topic. We heard you guys loud and clear. You were like, yep, let's talk about how we get to 10K months. And so I'm grateful to be able to sit here and do it. Was this helpful? Was this helpful for you guys? Let me know. Cool. Appreciate it. Well, same time next week, 2 p.m. Q&A with BA. It's my absolute pleasure to serve you guys. And we will put another poll up this week in terms of topics. And feel free, even on the replay, let us know in the comments. What topics do y'all want me to cover from week to week? Ryan, listen, man, I gave you a multiple 6-figure play. I just want a small cut. You got to go back and watch the replay and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. Got it. Got it. Okay. Yep. Look forward to next week as well, Liz. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, any comments, just put them in the comments. We'll go back and look at them, and I'll make sure that we get them answered. And any topics that y'all want me to cover, please let us know that as well. Okay. Y'all have a good one.